Thomas Barnett's book explores how America must restore its global leadership amid climate change and demographic collapse. Americans sit at the calm center of globalization, struggling to see the transformational impact they've unleashed on the world. Like people watching TV in a comfortable living room while a vortex swirls around them, Americans remain unaware of globalization's disruptive forces. For decades, US consumption patterns have directly shaped what people buy and want around the entire world. American-style globalization spreads outward, challenging traditional societies with new economic freedoms while provoking fierce resistance from groups like radical Islamists. The American Union's practices branch into state integration, unrestricted movement, and self-directed mobility that seem normal here but revolutionary elsewhere. Americans move freely from birth state to graduate school, through career relocations, and finally to retirement destinations without a second thought. The EU achieved freedom of movement in 1992, while China still restricts migration through its hukou system. Interstate mobility depends entirely on one thing: a government's trust in its own people. People worldwide want American-style mobility, but implementing it without proper systems would destabilize most countries. The most ambitious migrants vote with their feet, heading north to the two great hubs of legal free movement. The boomer generation made America the undisputed center of global demand for decades. Americans are just 5% of the world's population, yet consume 4 to 5 times that share globally. Boomers' dominance of the US market translated directly into outsized influence throughout the global economy. Sitting at the calm eye of the storm makes it nearly impossible to comprehend the transformational power you've unleashed. The 9/11 attacks and the 2008 financial crisis finally forced Americans to recognize their previously invisible global impact. Wall Street's risky debt collapsed the housing market, imploded global finance, slowed emerging economies, and forced vulnerable populations to emigrate. Americans truly understood their influence only when they discovered they no longer possessed it. China's stunning rise over the last 2 decades fundamentally changed the global economic landscape. In the 1990s, analysts believed that as long as US consumer spending remained strong, the global economy would be fine. Economists now speak of Chinese consumers with the same reverence they once reserved for Americans. Hollywood self-censors its films to avoid offending China's vast audience, showing how power has shifted. Loss of self-confidence, globalization fears, and demographic changes converge to create widespread American anxiety. Millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha grew up experiencing diversity that mirrors the world's actual composition. Younger generations hold practical concerns while harboring deep fears about climate change. Younger generations are ready for the future, yet boomers still control politics and haven't elected a post-boomer president. Boomer nostalgia drives attempts to resurrect America's golden age and frames Russia and China as existential threats. Viewing competitions in existential terms pushes Beijing and Moscow into confrontation with America and into each other's arms. Just as Americans struggle to own their consumption footprint, China now mirrors that same difficulty with global responsibility. After its century of humiliation, China sees itself as either a perpetual underdog or an avenging superpower. America's continued demonization of China causes Beijing to avoid global responsibilities it might otherwise embrace. America's global leadership is no longer feasibly unilateral in execution. The world currently blames America for globalization's damage, but over time, that anger will shift overwhelmingly to China.